The British monarchy has just unleashed its most powerful weapon, silence. But this time, King Charles is no longer sitting quietly on the sidelines. After days of political chaos and humiliation, the king has made his move, and insiders are calling it nothing short of a royal strike. What began as a shocking outburst from Prime Minister Keir Starmer, a direct assault on centuries of royal tradition, has now ignited a constitutional firestorm. Behind the tall gates of Buckingham Palace, something extraordinary has happened, something Britain hasn't witnessed in generations. According to multiple senior insiders, King Charles has taken direct action to defend the crown's honour, setting off a chain reaction that could shatter Starmer's government once and for all. The backlash against Starmer was already spiralling when word broke of a secret royal meeting late last night. It wasn't public, it wasn't ceremonial, it was something far more serious. Inside the dimly lit palace study, the king sat surrounded by his closest advisors, the Lord Chamberlain, senior Privy Council members, and constitutional lawyers. The meeting went deep into the night, the golden lamplight flickering off the polished wood as Britain's future was quietly discussed. One royal aide, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed His Majesty's belief that the Prime Minister had crossed a sacred line, and that the monarchy must now defend both its dignity and its survival. Those words spread like wildfire across Westminster. For centuries, Britain's unspoken rule has been simple: the crown stays out of politics, and politicians respect the crown. But Starmer's fiery tirade shattered that fragile balance. Now, the king has chosen not to ignore it. Leaked reports claim that Charles ordered a full constitutional review, a move unseen since the 1936 abdication crisis. The secret file, allegedly titled Operation Sovereign Integrity, outlined royal options if a prime minister ever endangered the monarchy itself. When news of this reached Downing Street, panic erupted. Senior Labour officials were stunned. The king was actually reasserting royal authority. Inside Starmer's office, disbelief turned to fear. But the king's response didn't end with midnight meetings. By dawn, royal couriers had delivered sealed letters to opposition leaders, the Speaker of the House, and the Supreme Court. Their contents remain secret, but palace sources say they stressed one message: the need to protect Britain's constitutional balance and defend the monarchy's role. A direct royal warning, historic, unprecedented, and within hours, the story exploded online under the hashtags #KingStrikesBack and #DefendTheCrown. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. It wasn't about Starmer's anger anymore. It was about the king's strength. Meanwhile, Starmer's inner circle collapsed in chaos. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner reportedly stormed out of a cabinet meeting, demanding an apology to the palace. Starmer refused. "You've made yourself the enemy of the people," she told him coldly. Witnesses say he turned pale. He knew the battle was no longer political. It was existential. That afternoon, the BBC interrupted programming with a breaking royal statement. The king himself didn't appear, but the 26 words read on his behalf shook the nation. His Majesty remains committed to the unity and stability of the nation. He holds deep respect for Britain's democratic institutions and expects the same respect to be shown toward the crown. Just 26 words, yet their impact was seismic. Without naming him, the king had publicly rebuked the Prime Minister. Commentators across every network called it the most decisive royal intervention in modern history. Across Britain, public sentiment swung like a pendulum. Crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace with banners reading "Stand with the Crown" and "Defend our King." Church bells rang. Even Labour heartlands echoed with unexpected loyalty. A taxi driver in Manchester said it best: "You can argue about policies, but you don't insult the king. That's not politics, that's betrayal." Inside Downing Street, Starmer watched his empire crumble. Every statement, every defence, made things worse. Meanwhile, opposition leaders moved in for the kill. Nigel Farage, calm and deliberate, praised the king's dignity and thundered, "When our institutions are under attack, silence is not weakness, it's strength." And the king has shown strength today. His words went viral. Overnight, his approval ratings soared. By morning, the national mood had shifted completely. Headlines screamed King strikes back and royal warning to Starmer. Polls showed nearly 80% of Britons believed the king had done the right thing, while 68% declared Starmer unfit to lead. Inside Whitehall, ministers fled the sinking ship. Civil servants whispered of a caretaker government. The phrase hadn't been uttered in decades. Outside, the streets filled with voices singing God Save the King. From London to Manchester, millions united under one banner: loyalty to the crown. It wasn't just politics anymore. It was a cultural awakening. Farage seized the spotlight again, declaring, "It's not the king who forgot his place. It's the Prime Minister who forgot his duty." Reform UK donations soared. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak cautiously echoed his support for the crown. Across the spectrum, one truth was undeniable: the nation was rallying behind the monarchy. Meanwhile, Labour imploded. Angela Rayner stopped returning Starmer's calls. Rachel Reeves met privately with senior MPs to discuss leadership transition. Leaked recordings captured MPs shouting, "He's turned Labour into a Republican experiment, and we're paying the price." At Buckingham Palace, the response was icy calm and perfectly timed. The king began quietly coordinating with church leaders and Commonwealth representatives. Soon, the Archbishop of Canterbury voiced his support, declaring, "The crown stands as the symbol of faith, unity, and moral foundation." The monarchy wasn't just winning politically, it was reclaiming the nation's soul. Internationally, the spectacle dominated headlines. American anchors called it the biggest royal political showdown since George III. In France, one newspaper wrote, "The king speaks." Without speaking, public trust in the monarchy soared to a 50-year high. Analysts called it the art of invisible dominance, the king letting his opponents self-destruct while remaining serene, measured, untouchable. By week's end, Starmer's leadership was collapsing. Resignations piled up. His authority was gone. The monarchy, thought powerless for decades, had quietly reminded the world that it could still move the earth when provoked. King Charles had struck back, not with anger, but with timeless patience. Britain could feel history shifting beneath its feet. And somewhere inside Buckingham Palace, the king sat in silence, watching as his calm defiance rewrote the story of modern Britain. By the following Monday, Westminster was a battlefield. Rumours of no confidence letters spread. Camera crews camped outside Downing Street. Inside, staff whispered of resignation speeches and leadership votes. That morning, something historic occurred. At Windsor Castle, the king summoned the Speaker of the House and senior Privy Council members. No cameras, no press, just one quiet note issued afterward. His Majesty has been apprised of the current situation and remains dedicated to the preservation of constitutional order. 21 words. But they detonated like thunder. Commentators called it a royal signal. Was the king preparing to act? Could he dissolve Parliament if Labour collapsed? Experts reminded viewers, the monarch's reserve powers, ancient, rarely used, are still very real. And now, Britain might see them tested. That night, Angela Rayner met with senior MPs and declared that Starmer had become indefensible. By morning, she had gathered the signatures needed to trigger a leadership vote. Starmer's fate was sealed. He tried to rally his ministers, but they looked away. They could all sense it. The end was near. Outside, Farage again captured the moment. "Leadership," he said, "is not about destroying what we inherit. It's about defending it." The crowd erupted. The clip went viral, and the question no one dared ask before suddenly filled every headline: could Nigel Farage become Britain's next Prime Minister? Even within Buckingham Palace, the mood was somber but resolute. The king, dignified and deliberate, knew his restraint had restored the monarchy's moral power. He continued private consultations with bishops and scholars, ensuring every step upheld Britain's fragile constitutional balance. Advisors quietly debated the unthinkable. If Starmer refused to resign, could the king invoke royal prerogative? Could history repeat itself? Across the world, Cameras watched. Analysts compared the standoff to a royal chess match, a masterclass in patience and precision. Britain stood on the edge of transformation, and once again, its kingi, through silence, had become the most powerful voice in the realm.